Right, well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for joining. Welcome to this afternoon's GCRF AgriFood Africa panel discussion on research and training. My name is Charlie Winkler-Smith, and I'm in the Emerging Technologies team at the KTN. We're going to start off with a panel session, which will then be followed by breakout rooms, where you'll all have an opportunity to join in with the discussion. In the meantime, if you do have any questions for the panelists, then please type them into the chat box. Just as a reminder, this session is being recorded, so you'll be able to rewatch on YouTube at your leisure. And can I also just encourage everyone to network with each other. You can do this using Meeting Mojo, so you can book one-to-one meetings between 2:30 and 4:30 today. Hopefully one of my colleagues will put the link in the chat box in a minute or so. Great, so we'll get going with the panel session. I think Caroline and Ernest are here. Hopefully Israel has joined. But can I just ask each of you to do a quick introduction? So Ernest, can I start with you? Ernest? Oh, Ernest, I think you're on mute.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So like I was saying, I am Theo Ernest from Ghana, a senior lecturer in the University of Cape Coast in the School of Agriculture. And my special area is food and post-harvest technology. And I've been in this area for the past 8 years. So that is a short introduction. And for those of you who are, Ghana is a small country and it's counted to be the gateway to Africa because of the stability we have enjoyed since independence. And it's also, investor friendly, and it's an agrarian economy as well, with about 50% of the youth in agriculture. So this is how I can say so much. And my university is also one of the rare universities facing the Atlantic Ocean. So it's also a very popular destination for tourists. Thank you so much.
Oh, lovely, thank you. Caroline, can I ask you to introduce yourself?
Orfla, yeah? Or, yep. Yeah, okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Caroline Orfla. I'm a professor of plant biochemistry and nutrition at the University of Leeds in the north of England. I have several projects in Africa looking at various agricultural systems in cereals, legumes, fruits and vegetables. I am particularly interested in nutrition sensitive approaches, so how we can use agriculture to promote nutrition, so not just food but also nutrition security in developing countries, and use a number of different approaches to ensure that consumers benefit from it. I also have a small BBSRC training grant in nutrition sensitive approaches, and so we will be developing some new courses to be deployed open access in nutrition sensitive agriculture. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you. And has Israel managed to join? Do we have Israel?
I am in, Charlie.
Brilliant.
Welcome. Yeah. So good afternoon, you all. My name is Prof. Da Silva. I am the deputy. Is it okay, Charles? Can people hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so I'm the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research and Innovation in Strathmore University, which is a private university in Kenya with about 6,000 students. We started with something called SERC, Strathmore Energy Research Center, where we do research and training and also standards and qualities for renewable energy and energy efficiency. And then I also work as the chairperson of the board of directors of Kenya CIC, that is Kenya Climate Innovation Center, where we deal with agriculture, renewable energy, water management, waste to energy, and commercial forest. So my interest despite of being an engineer, is actually to train people on all-round education, such that they are good people and also are trained on entrepreneurship and business. That's it.
Excellent. Well, thank you all very much for your introductions. I'll start perhaps with more of a general question to all of you, but perhaps Caroline, if you can take the lead on this one. How important do you think knowledge transfer is in determining the success of innovation?
Well, I think it's very important. I think it needs to be, you know, a partnership between academia and businesses really from the beginning. So I think that's why, you know, some of the schemes that Innovate UK and UKRI and others have put in place to ensure that the, you know, research findings are really translated into real product services that benefit, you know, consumers at the end of the day, and also that lead to, you know, economic and social development. So I think it's really important. I think it's difficult sometimes because, you know, in academic terms, we look at very long-term research objectives that are perhaps a little bit detached from reality. We think in different scales. We think perhaps at laboratory scale, where we need to really translate it to, you know, to pilot and often to industrial scale. But I think setting out some, you know, clear parameters and milestones from the beginning, some clear framework where academics and industry and societal organizations can work together to deliver outcomes, it's really the key to success.
Yeah, thank you. Ernest, do you have anything to add?
Like Caroline rightly said, this is very important, because what will be the benefit if we have the solution and they have the problem? I'm speaking from experience, because when I was made the coordinator for industrial attachment, I visit industries in Ghana and some part of Africa. And when we go there, you will see that the problem they have, we have the solution, but we don't know they have that problem. So combining this, I mean, working in synergism with them, we'll be able to solve the problem they have. And that will be a very beautiful atmosphere. Sometimes the problem they have, they don't even also know that we have the solution. For instance, a typical example is pineapple farmers in Ghana having problem with planting material propagation, but we had a solution in the university. And a typical example again, if Caroline will listen to this, there is an indigenous plant which has a lot of vitamin C and has a lot of iron, which could be used to fortify food in the local areas. They have a problem with malnourishment. We in the university, we found out that this can enrich that. Though this plant is seasonal, we can process it into tablets form and they can add it to their local diet. So you see, they have a problem, we have the solution. But we have also the problem because we don't know this solution we have could solve the problem. So it is very, very important. And going forward, looking at the trend at which now institutions are moving, it will end up working very well for the two of us in the entire chain. And you see, the chain is so broad that when we solve the problem, the answers we also benefit because it will improve production. And at the end, it will come back to us on our table. So we are all players in the entire value chain. So that's what I would say. But this is where the challenge lies in Africa. We tend to work in our own isolation. And so we don't have that platform. We have, but it's not functioning. Now that, I mean, government institutions are trying to work together so that this chain will be successful. So at some point, it is not working. You have the solution, they don't know, or they don't have time for them to wait for your solution. So they rush and go and get other cheap solutions somewhere, which doesn't work well. So this is what I would say. Thank you so much.
So Isaiah, how can academia ensure that
discoveries
how can academia ensure that discoveries actually reach the market?
One interesting thing that I think both people have mentioned is that it's like a puzzle with the three pieces. You have to have the three together in order to achieve success. Because Caroline was mentioning that sometimes we in academia, we have long-term research objectives and stuff. But you see, my experience in about now 23 years in Africa is that you have to have this concept. I think it was created by Mike Potter in the 70s, called the Triple Helix, in which you have to have the government, you have to have academia, and you have to have the private sector. Each one of those people, they come like a piece of the puzzle, and unless you have the three working together in harmony, you cannot get impact. You cannot get a transformation of people and lives outside the, say, the fences of Leeds or Strathmore or Cape Coast in Ghana. So, you know, like for instance, I'm a researcher. If I design a small Pelton turbine and I cast the little gadget here and I make it produce, say, 15,000 kilowatt of electricity per day, and I never implement one in the village where it can be used for, say, pumping water or maize milling, that thing is almost like it's useless in terms of impact. It's zero. You know, I actually call it a sickness called pilotitis. You know, it is a pilot, but it's a pilotitis. It will never go into commercial. So definitely, I have to go out there and find somebody in the business school who can do some implementation of that thing, and then make 100 or 200, and then displace, then get some more information. We improve that thing, the product, we do more R&D, but somebody is making money. And the government has to be there very fast to put regulations, take out give tax exemption and things like that. So when you have those three working together in harmony, you find society improving, human standards growing, improving, etc. Yeah.
And Caroline, do you think those three are working more in harmony now than perhaps in the past? Are things improving?
I think it is improving, but I think it is something that we need more training on overall. I think that you know, when you have a project, including sufficient time for stakeholder engagement from the beginning, you know, engage with your policymakers, engage with industry people, with consumers, so that you are really developing research that is relevant, rather than doing all the dissemination at the end, which often happens, I think, in research projects. And often now we have a work package in our proposals, which might be dissemination and exploitation, and the two have to be very carefully considered, because you have to engage to a point where, you know, you're still protecting your IP. So it can be quite difficult, but it's an ongoing discussion from the very beginning. I think my other advice is seek advice. You know, when you're writing the proposal, you know, from the KTN, for example, they have a lot of experience and can advise you on you know, what aspects can be protected, so that then you can, you know, still protect them beyond the project, but at the same time disseminate what you can. I'm not sure I'm answering your question, but I think we are getting there, and I think that it's if you're not experienced in it, you know, there are plenty of people who you can ask, but do it from the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. So Ernest, how do you think the linkages between agri-food training programs and industry can be improved, so that perhaps that's about dissemination as well? How can those training programs be improved?
Yes, first and foremost, thank you for the question. Again, we need to advertise with the industry in view. Most of the time, the industry, they are not aware such an opportunity exists. So for us to move forward, we need to get the industries involved, for them to also know that, okay, they cannot work without us, we cannot work without them. So they need to come together in that area. I shared a similar example today with my director of innovation, research and consultancy, telling him that we need to go to the industry and tell them they should list most of the challenges they have and give it to the universities so that every specialist or researcher will now look at the problems the industries are having and tailor its action towards that vis-a-vis his personal research ambition. So that with this, the industry knows that I have sent 10 thematic problems to, say, University of Cape Coast. University of Cape Coast also knows that this industry, they have such a problem. So with this, the grants can also be tailored towards that direction. And when this, plate is laid down, we will all be working in that area. And that is how I explained to him that for me, I always go to industry and ask the industry, what problem do you have? But it is better for the industry to be aware that we are there to research and solve problems, or we are there to improve their services. So whatever challenges they have in this new generation, they will bring the challenges to the researchers, and then we'll find ways to do that. But that is not there. They have their own problem, and they will be sitting on the problem for a long time because they don't know. So I think that moving forward, we should have a platform for the industry to also bring their problems. And then we assure them that a problem can be solved with partnership with other researchers outside maybe the continent. With this, they will be rest assured that they will get their solution. So that's what I would say for now.
And I suppose key for industry, but part of bringing the knowledge from universities into industry is bringing new graduates and trainees from academia into industry and agriculture wider. So Isael, how can we make sure there are proper routes into agriculture for young people?
Well, we actually are facing this problem in Kenya, which is a country where most of the GDP is related with agriculture, but you have tea, you have coffee, and you have flowers, and these are industrial, like a kind of industry in the sense that it is big scale, and the tea, for instance, people just plant a bit and then they sell to factories, and then all the value addition is outside of the people who work on that in agriculture down there. No, so what happens actually? How do we change that? It is a big challenge because let's say in Kenya, the average age of a person dealing with agriculture, a farmer, is 60 years. Now, this is very old because this country has an average age of 19, meaning that more than 50% of the population are below 19. And yet you see agriculture 60. Look, why is that? There are several reasons. One of them is that land has always been something like the divide of the elderly. If you are young and if you are smart, you don't want to stay in the rural areas. You go to town, you go get a degree, you see, and you do something else which is not agriculture, because farmers are poor. So it's interesting that we got a project here with the Kenya Climate Innovation Center supported by the EU for 5 years. They gave us a budget of $30 million to work on changing this thing. And then here is the way we want to change it. First of all, to create awareness amongst the youngsters that agribusiness is an alternative. If today I get a young fella here, say 19 or 20 years old, second year business commerce, a student, and I tell him or her, why don't you go agribusiness? She says, oh, I think I'll commit suicide first. Because for them it is a no-go zone, and it is reinforced by the fact that in Kenya, the land belongs to the elderly. Until I die, you don't touch this land, you see? So this requires also that the government comes in with some soft regulation to avail the land to the youngsters. The second thing that we are going to do is to create, to showcase successful stories. People who are same age, 21, 23, 25, who are being very successful because they are the so-called phone farmers. They are in town, but they all talk over the phone with the person on the land there, and they keep giving improvement and ideas and adding technology. They check how much is the price for pepper and bell pepper in Germany, and how they can send, say, half a container of this or avocado there, etc. So adding technology, showing successful story. And then in the case of the project with the EU, we are going to be able to avail them some soft loans, you know, green line of credit for them to do a startup. And obviously we'll be able to give them some training also on how to do business. So when you do that, and you have enough people doing these things, and these days, because of the social media, you can tell a story very fast to 400,000 people. We believe that perhaps if we come back to you, Innovate UK, JCRF in a year's time, the story will be different. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really interesting. We're beginning to get some questions in the chat box, and I'd encourage other people to type some questions in if they want. So we've got a question here from Rob Smallfit. How do you see the conflict between commerce wanting to own IP for good reason and not wanting to share their competitive advantage, and academia wanting to disseminate info? How does government support both? Caroline, are you able to come in on that?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, and it's one of the barriers, I guess, for academics sometimes to engage in industrial research. And as I mentioned, it's about having that discussion pretty early on of having a dissemination plan and an exploitation plan that have to align perfectly, or not perfectly, but they have to align in some way. And to have that very open discussion. Some companies see dissemination, publication of the results as a PR exercise, and to see that they are innovative, that they want to engage in research and development. But some companies are very protective, and so it's therefore having that conversation and being able to work out what is publishable that will not then impact on your ability to patent. And if you're an academic who have never done industrial research before, having a conversation with your industrialization team or your exploitation team, or somebody from the KTN who can really explain to you what would that mean? What are you allowed to disseminate if you are thinking of a patent? Patents are not the answer to everything. So it's not actually that often that things get patented, and therefore you might have a little bit more room for working out what you can publish. And of course, publication advances knowledge, so it is part of what we need to do. And so yes, I agree with the question that it's a very careful balance, but it can be achieved if you have that ongoing, that discussion and be very clear from the onset.
Yeah, thank you. We've got another question here from, I'm sorry if I've not pronouncing this correctly, Richard Osei Amponansa from the Department of Animal Science at the University of Ghana. Just asking about what you think the current opportunities are available to support research in the livestock sector in Sub-Saharan Africa. Is one of you able to answer that? Ernest, are you able to take that one perhaps?
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
If the thanks for the question again. There are a lot of opportunities, because the last webinar we had about the animal, somebody in their same university is looking at grass cutter, which grass cutter was not having the potential until they saw that it could be used to solve a lot of problems, but the feed is available. And so I listened carefully to that presentation. What we could do is maybe refer him to that author and the investigator for that project, and they will look at others. Others were also looking at livestock feed, because now there are urbanization moving forward. Livestock housing is a big challenge. So we could look at livestock housing to improve yield of the carcass, and that is wonderful. And again, people are also looking at livestock integrity, which is also another opportunity, because the certain meats are not eaten, but they are used to adulterate. For instance, the beef, and then Chivon, mutton. So he could look at that. But I think this question is directed towards a potential collaborator. I don't know whether that sounds true. If that is true, then he has to link with Tim to see who is interested in that area, so they could partner, because you could see that his special area is livestock sector. Thank you.
Yeah, but perhaps it's worth having a look at Meeting Mojo to see if there's perhaps a partner that you could talk to for that. Is there one of the big aims for this program in particular is to address poverty? Can you tell me a bit about the links between poverty and education in Kenya and Africa?
All right. Yes, that's some very interesting question, because I've been in Africa for 23 years now. I'm a Brazilian by birth. This is a disclosure. Yes, and I have seen it again and again, that in order for a country to develop, in Kenya we have a program called Vision 2030. In these 10 years, we want to follow the SDGs. We want to become a middle-income nation. We want to have our economy a little bit more related with the technology rather than just selling produce. But the issue I see, Charles, is that our children, the way they go through education, you can find a very intelligent young woman or a very intelligent young man, say 22, 23 years old, and clueless and unexposed, you see. And then obviously that won't work. They will not see opportunities. I once was told of some glasses called polarized glasses that the fishermen can use. They put on and they look at the river, and because that polarized glass reduces the glare created by the sun on the water, they are able to see the fish in the shallow water. And then of course they throw the line there and they get the fish. You see, they see, and when they take out the specs, they don't see. So in fact, because we do mentoring here, because we have an incubator, we have an accelerator, we teach entrepreneurship. You find people who are brilliant, but clueless and exposed. So what do? We get them, and then we throw them into this garage 24, garage 48, in which they have 24 hours or 48 hours to come up with a business idea. And after that, we support them. Small grant, angel investor, and things.
Oh, we've just lost you. Have you gone on to mute?
Yes, I was in mute, talking to myself. I'm so sorry. I don't know how it came.
Only 10 seconds, don't worry.
Yes. All right. So what I was saying is that, yes, we get these children and then we tell them, look here, you are doing business commerce, or you are doing BIT, that's business information technology. How do you see yourself owning a business right now? You know, so, and then we put them through our incubator, accelerator, and a bit of teaching entrepreneurship and bringing them together so that they have peer learning as well. And guess what? It works. It does work. People, and then also nowadays, as we get a successful story, we make a 2 minutes, 3 minutes video, we make it go viral in the university. So a lot more of interest is coming out of this, that people who eventually discover, yes, let me go into this problem, and so to solve this problem. We have the so-called Challenge Direct Education, which is a program we have with the KTH in Stockholm, the Global Development Hub, and then we exchange people from Sweden and here, and they go and learn how to study a problem, how to give us a solution, and how to eventually implement it. So it has been a beautiful kind of journey, helping these kids to going from, as I mentioned before, clueless and unexposed into somebody who can play globally, you know, on the game of business at a global stage.
Yeah, well, thank you to all of you. I'm just conscious of the time now. We're almost at 1:35. So I'd just like to say a big thank you to all of you for really fascinating answers there. We're going to now move on to breakout rooms. So everyone's now going to have a chance to join in the discussion. I think we'll be splitting into 2 or 3 breakout rooms. So in a minute or so, you'll get a pop-up on your screen which you need to click, and then you'll be taken through to your separate rooms. And I think we will come back just for 2 minutes right at the end all together again. But just once again, thank you very much to all of you. That's been absolutely fascinating. So we'll move on to the breakout rooms. We'll just wait for the other rooms to come back. Okay, great. I think hopefully most people are back. So thank you all very much indeed for joining. Just as a reminder, you can book your one-to-one meetings using Meeting Mojo. The link's on the screen, and it should also be in the chat box as well. So this is between 2:30 and 4:30 today. Unless there are any questions, thank you all very much for joining, and hopefully see you back here soon.